is Jason Clemmons, Doctor of Chiropractic at the Rock Health and Wellness Center, and this is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. This is Monday, October the 14th. We are live right here at the Rock Health and Wellness Center studios in Lubbock, Texas, and we are coming to you all over social media and the radio at 98.7, and I hope you guys had a great weekend. I had a pretty good weekend myself. I got to go to a funeral, which is not always a fun thing to do. Matter of fact, I hate going to funerals. I really do hate funerals. But 87-year-old guy, lived life to the fullest all the way to the end. A guy I used to coach football with, was kind of a mentor to me along the way in some form or fashion. And got to see a lot of old folks, some of the guys I coached with, some of the guys I played with, some of the guys we coached along the way. So it was bittersweet, really, but it was really good to see all those guys, and it was really nice. His name was Doyle Parker. If you guys didn't know Doyle, he was a coach at Texas Tech for 12 years, and he was a football coach for 39 years. And he was actually, I think, inducted to the Texas High School Hall of Fame in some form or fashion. Won a state championship at one point. Doyle was a great guy. He was a shining light in this world. He was a person that just always made you feel good about yourself. He was a family man. He was a good Christian man. You could see it come through his life, and he was really he was a good guy. So he went to the gym with his new girlfriend. I don't know if that's the proper word, or special friend, I think they said. His wife passed away after 64 years of marriage. Yep, 64 years of marriage. His wife passed away a few years back, and Doyle finally found him another special person, and they were at the gym together. And then he walked around the car, and maybe had a heart attack or something. Don't really know for sure what happened. And then he died right there in the parking lot. Just boom. And I was like, man, what a way to go. Like, if you had the opportunity to be full speed all the way till the end and then be done, that to me, that sounds about as ideal as you could possibly have it. Maybe the timing, no one ever wants the timing. It's like we don't want to pick that day then when it's our time to go, but that was good. So, hey, we got Taking Health to Church for you tonight, and I'm really excited about this show. There's going to be, if I can pull this off and put all this together, I think you're going to really enjoy it, because it is the biblical explanation of something that I have taught since the beginning of chiropractic school. Since I've learned, actually before I went to chiropractic school, it's called the 5P triangle. And I've been waiting for this. And so 24 years now, 22 years or so ago, I learned this. 23 years ago, somewhere along there, I learned this 5P triangle, and it's been really good for me. And then this weekend, I was like, wow, there it was, right there in plain sight. You know how that church thing is. It'll do that to you. It'll just all of a sudden sneak up on you, and then you'll be like, whoa, that's how that works. That's kind of why I love chiropractic so much. It kind of does the same thing. You're working along, and then all of a sudden it shows up. So that's what we got on tap for you tonight. And we're working through the blessing avalanche. And so for you guys that don't know, if you're new to the show, because I know we got some new followers, on Monday night, it's called Taking Health to Church. So we just take the sermon from Hillside Church that I go to here in Lubbock. I go to church, I take notes, and then I try to take the sermon and bring it to you in relationship to health. How does what the teaching on Sunday apply to our health on Monday? And that's what our Monday night show is all about. So I'm not preaching. I'm just trying to take the teachings that I learned and apply them to the things I know when it comes to health and wellness. So that's what Taking Health to Church is all about on Mondays. And if you ever want to, you can go back to any of the Mondays, and most of the Mondays over the last 13 months, most of those Mondays, we've done some sort of Taking Health to Church show. So we're in Ephesians 1, and this is going to be good. But there are a couple things that came up today that I really want to explain, and I won't take too long to explain them. But there was two really good conversations that I had today that I thought you guys would enjoy. Number one was in our 8 o'clock workout class this morning, and um, the it's really it's an example of bad coaching on my part. But when we're working out, um, you know, people have a tendency to, like, when we ride an exercise and we're on the rowing machine or we're on the bike, that they'll have a tendency in the time frame. Let's just say we're on the like this morning we were on the rower or the bike for 40 seconds, and during that 40 seconds people will have a tendency to kind of, they'll go at a certain speed, and then they'll see if they can like ramp up really quick and hit their max, or and then as soon as their max is over, then they drop back down to a lower speed. Or it's like, we're going to try to see, oh, can I get 700 on the rower? Can I get 1,000 on the rower? Whatever. I mean, some of my people are 80 years old that are working out, so they're everybody has a different level. Well, and so that was happening this morning during the workout. And I thought to myself, I was like, my guy's an accountant. I should have explained this to him in a form of numbers. And so I said, look, let me show you what I want you to do. And let me show you how this workout is designed to work. Right? And I'm not going to go into the whole thing for you because I know we've done this lots of times, but if we were to graph it out, if we were to put this on a graph, and you guys on the radio, what we're doing is we just have a bar graph or a line, whatever. We have a little graph that we're drawing here. And what we're showing is that there's basically three types of workout systems metabolically that happen inside our body, and I'm not going to get into all the details of them, but there's one of them that is a quick burst. It's a really quick, all-out effort. It's maximal effort, and it lasts for about 10 seconds. And it's just an all-out burst quickly. Okay? Like if you were going to do a 1 rep max on a bench press, someone says, hey, how much do you bench press? You're like, I don't know. Let me put the bar, and I'm just going to bring the bar down. It's like one, bam, just all you got for 1 rep, maximum effort. How much can you do? Right? That's the first energy system. And then the second energy system is it's a different system where it kind of has an arc, and it's like a half circle for you guys on the radio. It's a half circle, and the top of that circle, it arcs, it maxes out at about 1 minute. And the whole thing lasts a maximum of about 3 minutes. And that's the second kind of energy system that we're working with. And the third one is what would be aerobic, and it just goes on for hours. That's like if you're. I saw one of the ladies. I believe she's an African lady. She set the world record in the marathon at 2 hours and 9 minutes. And I didn't map out what the pace was, but that's pretty dang good pace, running 26 miles in 2 hours and 9 minutes. And so she was that's aerobic. Like that's a long distance. You just get into a different energy system right there. And so what I was trying to show is that what we do a lot of in our gym and is we work this 3 minute energy system with 1 minute maximum output. So when we ride the bike for 40 seconds, we're not trying to do aerobics. We're not trying to make it look like aerobics and then all of a sudden some major burst and then back down. That's not the curve that we're looking for. We're looking for 40 seconds of sustained, almost maximal effort. Push that thing, like push it, get it up there to 80%, 85% of your max effort. Like really try to drive yourself as hard as you can, because you're going to get to that minute, and then all of a sudden you're going to run out of juice. You're not going to be able to push. You cannot push yourself full speed for 3 minutes. That's why in the Olympics The 400-meter dash is the last full sprint. Those guys sprint from the time they hit when the gun goes off and they're out of the blocks, they're in a full sprint all the way around the track. The 800-meter guys are not quite in that full sprint. The 800-meter guys have a little bit of pace in that first part of the race. They're not running that first quarter mile. It's exactly the same. Now, the Olympians get kind of close, but for the most part, you don't see that. And the reason is those Olympians will run that quarter mile in 40-something seconds. 40-something, 50-something seconds, you get into high schoolers and all that sort of thing. That's a pretty good quarter mile time. But you can't push further than that. So that's the energy system that we're trying to work. And so when I explained it to him, I was like, look, what we're going to do, because what we did 40 seconds on the rower or the bike. And then we switched and we started doing some lifts. So I think we did some sit-ups. And then we did some ring lat pulls. And the last one was side box step-ups. And then we rested for 1:15 seconds. So that was our little cycle that we did this morning in the gym. And you want to push that 40 seconds pretty hard, and then transition to the next movement, and then do your setups, and then do them pretty hard, and then transition to the next movement, and then do your ring pulls or your lat pulls, and then transition to the next segment. And you will work. And that whole thing, our 6 o'clock class did 6 rounds in 20 minutes. So they were, with their minute rest, they were hitting that dude right about, there's about 3 minutes, a little over 3 minutes with the rest that went through there. So I just wanted to share that to you, because sometimes if you're working out and you're trying to get a HIIT workout and you're trying to get high intensity interval training, the interval is the different movements. The high intensity is whatever your intensity is. Now, let me make sure we're really clear. The intensity is based on your body, yourself. It's a super fit person could do that workout and they could kill it. And then they might get 7 rounds or even 8 rounds if they were super fast. And then you could take a non-fit person and maybe they only get 4 or 5 rounds. But to them, to the individual person, it's high intensity. If they're 80 years old, it's high intensity. So I just wanted to share that with you. A lot of people will go a certain pace, and then right before the end, they'll just speed up. And it's like, nope, that's not what we're looking for. We're not looking for that type of workout. And because when you measure that out, and I think tomorrow night I'll carry this forward and get into fitness and health a little bit, but that was something that I just wanted to share, for just because I thought it was a big deal. And as soon as I showed it to him, he was like, oh, I see because what he was trying to do in the 40 seconds is he was trying to get to his maximum target. He's like, I just wanted to try to get to 200. Well, then he would ramp up to 200, and then he would just coast his way through the rest of the 40 seconds. And I'm like, no, that's not what we're trying to do. That's not how it's written, right? It's not the energy system. There's a little bit of science to exercise, and so there's not the energy system we're working on. Okay, that was the first one. The second one was something that I wanted to share with you. I just wanted to show you, I just wanted to talk, maybe I could just talk about this. Well, let's see if I can find it right quick. Just a picture of the semicircular canals. For you guys that are just joining the show, we are doing Taking Health to Church. We're just talking about a couple things. This picture right here, and this is from verywellhealth.com right here. And so I'm not trying to get us in trouble again. I just wanted to kind of show you what happens, what is going on inside of your ear. Yeah, these. So inside your ear, you got these little semicircular canals, and you got this cochlear part, and you got this vestibular cochlear nerve, and this vestibular system. These are the nerves, and these are the semicircular canals that help you learn where you are in space, where they kind of show you where you are in space. Okay, and they're giving your brain information as to what's going on, and it's got these little hair-like follicles inside those canals, and those canals are full of a Karo syrup kind of fluid. It's kind of a thick fluid that's inside that canal, and if the fluid flows in one direction, it pushes the little hair, the nerve follicles, or nerve, they look like little hairs. It pushes those little hairs in one direction, and that stimulates the nerve. And if it pushes them in another direction, that inhibits the nerve. And it tells you where you are in space. So you're getting information from your ear that it's going to your cerebellum to tell you where you are in space to help you with balance, your vestibular system. Okay? But you're also getting information from your eyes. So your brain is sharing information. Your brain is receiving information. This cerebellum part of your brain right here is receiving information from, number one, it's receiving information from your eyes. If you ever try to stand on one foot and then just catch your balance, and then all of a sudden just close your eyes. As soon as you close your eyes, it's really hard to stand up. That's why I'm constantly trying to tell new people that come to the gym, for some reason, when they work out, they want to close their eyes. They want to close their eyes and do their exercises. And it's like, no, don't do that. Don't close your eyes. We're working your nervous system. We want your nervous system to work properly. So you need your eyes to function. You need your eyes to balance your body. But you also, the second thing is you're receiving information from your body into your brain. And we call this proprioception. And proprioception is the feet, the ankles, the shins, the knee, the thigh, the hip, the spine, all of this fascia, all these receptors that you have, 2,500 per square centimeter in your fingertip, is part of proprioception. Your joints, you know where you are. I can put my hand behind my head and I can say, yes, I've got 2 fingers up and I've got 3 fingers up, and I don't have to look backwards to know. I just know because I know where my hand is in space, right? That's proprioception. And then the third one, this last one, is the vestibular. This is all contributing to balance. And so you're getting all of these, that middle ear, that canal, those 3 semicircular canals, and the mechanism of that whole thing in the ear is feeding your brain to give your brain information about where you are in space. Your eyeballs are feeding your brain, and then all of your body is feeding your brain to tell you where you are in space. So that's how you keep your balance. So working all of those systems and keeping those systems functioning and efficient inside the brain is part of balance. And we might get into that a little bit later, maybe tomorrow or the next day. We might get a little bit deeper into that. But it's like, just know that there's a lot of information that's going on. All of that's firing into the cerebellum, which is firing into the motor cortex. It's communicating with the upper part of the brain. It's communicating with the right side and the left side of the brain, and it's keeping you standing up and keeping you from falling. And the muscle strength in your legs is vitally important. The core strength that you have is vitally important. All those things work together to help you with balance. So we just had that conversation right before I got on the air, and it was kind of a lightning bulb moment in the office about what was, kind of how that all was working. And so I just thought I'd touch on it. Maybe we'll get into it a little bit deeper as we go into the week. So that's that. All right, let's get to taking health to church, because I really am excited about tonight's show. And so when I went to chiropractic school, right before I started, I went and met with the president of Parker College when I was there. His name was Fabrizio Mancini, and I went in and met with him. I talked to him, and I was older. I was 31 years old when I started chiropractic school, so I was serious, and I really wanted to know kind of what the expectations were, how things worked, and what I could do to contribute. That's what I was kind of wanting to find out, and so I got super lucky, and I had the opportunity to go sit and listen to a guy that his name was Patrick Gentempo, and he is a chiropractor out of New Jersey, and Patrick Gentempo they did a little thing called Clinic Camp, and it was one of the first ones they ever did at Parker. It was a super cool thing, but they had a whole lecture session where he came in and did some teaching. And one of the things that he taught was the 5P triangle. And I've talked about the 5P triangle. We've done a show on the 5P triangle, but I got it kind of shown to me to this weekend from a biblical standpoint. And I thought, man, what a cool thing that is. So the 5P triangle, if you just wrote these 5 words and just wrote them on a piece of paper and started from bottom up. So you're just going to stack them. And the first thing is purpose. So you're going to write purpose. And then right above purpose, you're going to write philosophy. And then right above philosophy, you're going to write procedures. No, psychology. And above psychology, you're going to write procedures. And above procedures, you're going to write prosperity. If I can. And now we're just going to make a triangle out of that. And I didn't do a very good job, and the triangle is going to get cut off at the top. But so we're making this triangle right there. So purpose, philosophy, psychology, procedures, and prosperity. And what I learned from that is that these bottom 2 should be the cause, and the top are the effect. So the question really is, what is driving your thinking? And I'm telling you that every mistake that I've made in the last 24 years of being in business on my own, and probably in my whole life, and probably before that, probably the 6 years I was coaching football, probably from the time I could even make decisions on my own, I'd be willing to bet you, if I was to map it all the way back, this triangle right here is probably the most profound thing, one of the most profound things that I've ever learned in my entire life. Like, this right here makes so much sense to me. And because the question is, psychology is what you are thinking, right? What are we thinking? Because whatever we're thinking is what we're going to be doing. And that's our procedures. And whatever we're doing is going to drive our prosperity, however you want to define prosperity. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be in dollars. It could be in any sort of success that you want. It's just basically your success. So the thinking is going to drive. So the question becomes what is driving your thinking? Is it your purpose? Your purpose is why you are here. Your why. Okay? Your philosophy is what you believe about your why. So because we all have a different philosophy, and some of us have figured out what our purpose is, and some of us believe one thing, and some of us believe another thing. But if you just took a line and you just said, all right, look, everything above that line is 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 the effect of what's going on with my purpose and my philosophy. Because what is driving our thinking? Because our thinking is going to drive what we're doing, right? Okay, so the pastor this week, he starts off, and we've been doing this blessing avalanche. And this blessing avalanche has come out of Ephesians 1. And, we've said it multiple times on the show, how it's the longest run on sentence in, all of literature and all this sort of thing. And it goes and it talks about all the blessings. But that's not the way they approached it this week. They started it talking about that Paul, when he wrote Ephesians, was in prison. Now, I don't know what a prison was like 2,000 years ago, but I'm just going to take a wild guess. And I'm going to say a prison was pretty bad. And we're going to have to take a break. But as soon as we get back from the break, we're going to get into this 5P triangle and the blessing avalanche and how that all fits together with our health and our decision making. So I hope you guys will stick around with us. And we'll be right back right after these messages, and we'll get the rest of this taken care of. So stay with us. Yeah, this 5P triangle is really cool. And if you've never seen it before, it'd be worth writing down. It'd be worth thinking about, because if you ever think about what's like, that's what we're fixing to get in with Paul. And I don't want to. I want the guys on the radio to be able to hear this too. So, but man, there's so many times that our thinking is being driven by with our triangle upside down. And I'll draw that here in just a minute. I'll put our triangle upside down, and whether or not our success or lack of success changes our procedures. And if our success or lack of success changes our procedures, then our why is not driving our thinking. And it's so awesome when you start to break it down. You start thinking about exactly why are you thinking what you're thinking. It's the 15th of the month, tomorrow. Tomorrow's payday. How's that affecting everybody? Do you get paid tomorrow? Is that a payday for you? Are you're halfway through the month? Like what you're thinking? Like, are we going to make it to the end of the month? Are we not going to make it into the end of the month? What do we got to do? We got to. There's like all kinds of thoughts that go along with that, right? What's for supper tonight? What are you guys eating out there? Did we work out today? Did we fast today? What do we have for lunch? How many calories have we drank today? It's like all of those things. Hey, what do you guys want for lunch? I don't care. Whatever you want. What is your thinking right there? Hey, let's go get pizza. What do we have for supper? Well, we got to take the kids to dance, and we got to go to gymnastics, and we got a football practice. And so it's like, well, let's just stop and get Taco Villa. Let's just, you see what our thinking does? Our thinking just gets like, what is driving it? Well, our circumstances, our stress level, our sleep level. If you get any sleep, how does it affect you? Right? It's so cool because that's what we're about to dive into that. Let me get us back on the radio. Okay, everybody, we're back. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. We're taking health to church tonight, and we're talking about the blessing avalanche and the first Ephesians 1:3 through about 14 or 15. Now 14, I think. And we've been talking about this over the last several Monday nights about taking health to church. But We've pointed out, and like the preacher did yesterday during the sermon, we pointed out that Paul wrote this from prison. And the thing that I wrote in my notes, I thought to myself, like, Paul was writing Ephesians talking about blessings while in a prison cell. And I wrote down here, what prisons are we in today? Every one of us dealt with some sort of stressful situation in some form or fashion today. I would be willing to bet you that something happened. You're dealing with something. You in your marriage, you're doing something with your kids, you're doing something with your job, you're doing something with the election, you're doing something with whatever. Everybody's got something, right? Like we all have a prison, right? Like it's easy. What's it? George Strait has a line: "Even a bird in a cage will sing a song." Right? So, what prisons are we in today? And then, what is the story we are writing with our lives? I mean, Paul was pretty bold to just go out and I guess he got to the point where he didn't have anything else to lose. He might as well just speak his mind. He just might as well speak his truth. He's like, dude, I'm already in prison. Like, we're not too much further from being stoned to death. And I might as well, or crucified. I might as well just go for it. Right? What story are we telling? And I just started thinking about that because I started thinking about us. I started thinking about me. What story did I tell today? What story did I tell with whatever prison I'm in? And what was driving my thinking? Was Paul contemplating his successes or lack of success while he was in prison? Was that where he was going with the whole thing? Because that's what happens with the 5P triangle when you turn that dude upside down. You take that triangle and you turn it upside down, and this is where the mistakes start to happen. This is where when your triangle is on a point, and your prosperity in whatever way you've defined it is now the foundation of the triangle. It's flat on the ground. And if you put a triangle upside down on its point, what's it going to do? It's going to tilt. It's going to tilt from one side to the next. There's no stability in it. And so what we have is we have this illusion of excess and lack. And so if our triangle tilts towards the excess, we're going to think highly of ourselves. We're going to think, oh, yeah, we're great. We're successful. Everything's going right. That's our thinking, right? Our thinking is going to be positive. Our thinking is going to be leading us into some form or fashion like we're actually fancy, like we've done something, like we start to become arrogant. We start to become full of ourselves. We're like, oh yeah, of course I'm successful because that's just the way I am, right? So I just start falling over there, and it changes my thinking because of my success. And then what happens when I change my thinking? Then I change my doing. I stopped doing those things that got me successful in the first place because I kind of rest on my laurels there for a little bit. I swing over, and then I have this illusion of excess or success, and it changes my thinking, and then it changes my doing. And then what's it going to do with my triangle? It's now going to push my triangle back in the other direction. And now, or I have, let's just say that my triangle tilted that way in the first place. It tilted towards this illusion of lack. I don't have enough. So now my triangle has tilted over towards the lack. And then it's like, oh crap, what am I going to do now? How am I going to solve this problem? How are we going to get ourselves out of this hole? What is the deal? And it can happen in every prison of life. It can happen with how many parents have you seen at a ball game in your lifetime that just blew their top? They just act like a bunch of crazed animals at a ball game. They chew out the kids and they yell at the umpires or they yell at the referees or they get in a fight with the other parents. And it's just like, what are you doing, right? What is going on with that person? What they're doing is they're thinking that they have lack. We didn't get the call our way. My kid didn't hit the ball well enough. My kid got cheated out of something, right? It's our stress response that we get when we have this illusion of lack, and we teeter over towards that area. And then we start blaming each other. We get mad at our spouse. We create all kinds of stress in our environment, our work ethic, our work, because we're going to think, uh-oh, I am about to die. Thing is about to go under. This is never going to work because of all this lack. So that changes my thinking. So then what happens to my doing? It changes my behavior. It changes my personality. It changes my effort. Like, now I got to get after it. But as soon as I get after it and start doing the things that it takes to get back to being successful again, then my triangle tilts back over to excess and I go away. And I just was thinking about Paul. He's in prison and he's writing the longest run-on sentence in the history of mankind of blessings that we've all been blessed with. And he's trying to explain it to us. And he's like, look, was Paul in a state of excess or lack? No. Why? Because he was letting his purpose drive his psychology. His triangle was flat on the ground. The base of the triangle is flat. And then it's going up from there, right? This triangle that's flat on the ground is not going to teeter. It doesn't matter if it's pushing towards lack or pushing towards excess. It doesn't matter. The triangle is not going to tilt when the purpose is driving the thinking. We follow what we think. And we end up telling the story of either excess or lack or purpose. We tell the story. We live our story out, right? And so the next step that the pastor presented is, are we worshiping a dead God or a God of life? Because remember Artemis, we showed the picture of the temple, the temple of Artemis, and you guys can look that up. And that's what we had last week was the picture of the temple of Artemis, and the people from Ephesus were going into this temple and they were donating their coins and they were praying to this god of this Artemis to heal them and to fix their lives. And it was like, we're praying to a dead God. We're praying to a false God. We're praying to this made up false God that's not going to get us to where we want to go, right? And I started thinking about how many of us do that with our health. How many of us actually we make up, we live our lives in some sort of made up fashion, like it's not gonna happen to me. That's where I was when I was 49 years old and 283 pounds, and I was like living in some sort of fairy tale dreamland. Like the God of creation set the order of creation in the first 6 days, and that's never changed. It's like, dude, look, here's how physiology works. Here's how neurology works. You're not going to change it. You're not going to change it with pharmaceuticals. You're not going to change it by ignoring it. That's kind of what I was doing. I was like, well, I'm a wellness chiropractor, so it can't happen to me. Sometimes ignorance plays a part in whether your triangle's turned upside down or not. Like, how was that purpose? Right? How was 283 pounds and full of inflammation? And I mean, it's a very short time ago in my life. I knew all of the stuff with physiology. I knew all the stuff with neurology. there, and then, but it just, there's no explanation for what I was doing, but I wasn't telling a story based on the foundational teachings of the creator of the universe. I wasn't running a race to win. I wasn't. I wasn't. I wasn't taking care of the temple. I wasn't. I wasn't treating my body and with and disciplining my body to do the things that it was supposed to do. I was lost in being blown in the wind, and I was just making it through the day as if I was some sort of like superhero. Like had no way of that heart disease or cancer or Alzheimer's or Parkinson's was going to happen to me. Like no way, not me. Yeah, dude. Who knows how close I was to some sort of heart attack situation? I was in bad shape, and when it finally hit me, I was so stunned with the way I had been telling my story. I was so stunned with the story that I had been telling. The verbal story and the physical story were completely incongruent with they were not even close to the same. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to get on all of social media and the radio and just say it to the entire world, and it just be like, man, God dang, I don't know what I was doing, and I was way off purpose, and I was just blown. It just got away from me. It just got away from me, and so I was just listening to that. I was listening to that. Am I living a life of purpose, or am I living a life of falsehood? What are we telling the story of life? Or are we telling the story of death? And I was telling the story of death at the time. And then he moved through Ephesians 1 and he went into Ephesians 2 and he said he read this scripture right here. And this is where it got me into the 5P triangle, really, and tied it all together. He said, as for you, you were dead in your transgressions and sin in which you used to live when you followed the way of this world and of the ruler of the kingdom of the air. And I was like, whoa. And they had that highlighted on the TV. And I'm going to read it one more time. As for you, you were dead in your transgressions and sins, in which you used to live when you followed the ways of this world. Followed was the word that I wrote, that I underlined. And followed was doing, right? That's where the doing comes in the picture. What Paul was saying was that you were dead when you were following the prince of the air. You were dead when you were letting Satan rule your life. That's sickness to me. Sickness is the lack of Jesus in your heart. That's sickness. Everything else is is a um, is a lack of health. It's not sickness. I think you're sick if you. This is my own personal commentary. I think you're sick when you don't have Jesus in your heart. Period. That you according to my book, you got a hard time coming with down the road, right? Once you have Jesus in your heart, now it's just whether or not you're following where your triangle is. What story are you telling? Because you could have Jesus in your heart and still be telling a sick story. I was doing it personally. Jesus was in my heart, but I wasn't letting him rule it. I was being ruled. I was following the ruler of the kingdom of the air, the spirit of who is now at work in those who are disobedient. That's what I was doing. And I didn't even know I was doing it. I wasn't intentionally doing it. I was just I was letting anybody, I was letting all of the things of life dictate my procedures. If we had a ball game, if we had a theater thing, if we stayed up there, Caitlin danced she was on the Palm Squad for 4 years at Friendship. What are we going to eat? We work till 6. We got a ball game. We work till this. I was at the office. What's for supper? How are we going to? We're going to run by Cane's and get some chicken strips. What about after the game? We're hungry. Man, I'm hungry. I'll just go where? Where am I going to go? You know how interesting it is? For 31 months, I've figured out 31 and a half months. Somehow I've figured out how to eat without starving to death. Right? Like for 31 months, I didn't have one circumstance. I have not had one circumstance in 31 and a half months that has made me have a bowl of ice cream. And for 51 years, I had multiple circumstances a month, sometimes multiple circumstances a week that might have me eat a bowl of ice cream. Like, how does that happen? How does that happen with us? When you say to yourself, well, just tonight, I know we're busy. We don't have time. I got a lot of things to do tonight. Speaking of that, tomorrow night I'm speaking at the WISE group. I got to go home tonight and get my presentation finished up so I can send it over to Laura at the WISE group at the Lake Ridge Memorial Chapel over here. If you guys want to come over there, I think we get started at 5:30, 5:30 or 6. I think it's 5:30 is when we get started. So if you guys want to come over, we're going to talk about depression tomorrow night. So I got a lot to do, right? So I got to get home and get this PowerPoint. I got to take my computer home tonight. I got to get this PowerPoint built. And I don't have a lot of time because I got to see patients in the morning, and then I got to get to Littlefield tomorrow afternoon, and then I got to get back in time to get the presentation sent over there. But I got to get all this done, and I may be up a little bit late tonight. So I tell you what I'll do. I think I'm just going to skip my workout in the morning. You see how easy that is? Because Tuesdays and Fridays are the morning that I work out. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to let the ruler of disobedience rule my life. And I'm just going to miss my workout in the morning so that I can get this done, because, it's not, what's important is to make sure that I get this PowerPoint done, because I've got to go do this talk tomorrow night. I did that for 51 years. And then all of a sudden, and actually I did it for 49 years. And then all of a sudden, 4 years ago, I was like, no, that's not my purpose. Part of my purpose is my health. It's like a major part of my purpose is my health. I can't do any of this stuff without my health. If I lose my health, all of this stuff goes away. It doesn't matter what I think I'm up to. If I lose my health, all this stuff goes away. If I lose my health, Leslie loses her husband. If I lose my health, my kids lose their dad. If I lose my health, my patients lose their doctor. My employees lose their boss. Like, you guys lose your radio guy. And I know that would make you sick if that happened, right? Like, it's non-negotiable tomorrow. I'm going to work out tomorrow morning because Tuesdays and Fridays is my workout day. Unless I'm sick with COVID or something, I'm going to work out tomorrow. It's not negotiable any longer. And tomorrow, I'm not going to have a Reese's cup or a bowl of ice cream. I'm not going to have one of those. Those days of that level of disobedience is over. It's a new story that's being told. It's a new story that's being told because I am trying to become mature. And I'm using this as an example for me in a way that, because I know some of you guys are way more mature than I am. And you've got your lives under control and you're rocking it. And you guys are really inspirations for me. You guys that are out there that are in that realm, that are your inspirations. And I hope you understand it. I just did a girl today who's married to a guy from Roswell whose dad was one of my heroes when I was like in the 6th and 7th grade. And I told her, I said, I bet you he didn't even know that he was my hero. We used to go to all the football games and all the basketball games, and we used to see all those guys when we were in 5th, 6th, 7th grade, and those seniors, juniors and seniors in high school. We used to look up to those guys and be like, oh man, there's Rocky right there. Like, it was like, dude, And we still know some of the things that happened in those days, because and those guys didn't even know that they were an inspiration to us. They didn't even know that. And I don't know if Paul knew how inspiring he was going to be to thousands and thousands and millions of people over 2,000 years of time when he wrote from prison the blessings that are bestowed upon us. The story that he told from prison, because his psychology was being driven by his purpose. And he believed in his purpose. He believed in his purpose to the level that he was willing to write about blessings in prison. He was unknowingly leading people. And there's a lot of you guys out there who've got your act together, and you guys are doing it like, and you're mature and you're handling it, and you're leading people that you don't even know. So maybe this would be a little bit of encouragement, of a blessing, to just remember that. Just remember that even if you can't even see it, you're leading people that you don't even know. It may be somebody in your own home. It may be somebody at work. It may be somebody at your school. It may be a family member, or it may be a friend, or it may be some stranger that just sees you, that just says, man, like, that was great. Like, I learned something from that person, or I'm learning something from that person because of that. And then the rest of us, maybe a lesson like this, where we get into it and we're just like, whoa, you know what, Jason, I'm just like that. I'm just rocking. I'm just going through life, and I'm not even thinking about my purpose, and I'm not even thinking about what I'm doing. I can't even tell you why I'm eating pizza tonight. Like, I'm not even thinking about. I don't know. I didn't even think about. I don't have an answer for you. And maybe you can take this lesson, because you're following the ways of the world. You're following the ways of the world. And that's going to lead to disobedience. And in health, that leads to chronic disease. When we follow the ways of the world, there's a big push right now. There's a big push in all the areas. There's a big push with refined carbohydrates. There's a big push with sodas. There's a big push with vaccines. There's a big push. There's all kinds of wave of energy that's coming with health and wellness. Like, people are starting to see, it's like, wow, like, okay, I see this, I get this. And there's so many more advanced people out there that are teaching all these things. And if you don't get driven by your purpose. Last week we studied people that lived to 100. They didn't do workouts like we're talking about, but they worked out. Those people in Okinawa most of them don't have chairs or couches in their living room. So they're doing burpees all day long. I mean, they're sitting down on the floor and standing back up, and they're sitting down on the floor and standing back up for years and years and years, multiple times a day. And they're eating foods that are low in the glycemic index. They're making choices about what they're going to eat. They're making choices about their social life. They're making choices. They're not following the ways of the world. They're purposefully living. They're purposefully living. And when we live on purpose, it's not going to matter if we have an excess or lack. We're still going to drive through our purpose. We're going to let our psychology lead the way. We're going to let our procedures follow our thinking, because that's what's going to happen. Now, all of a sudden, we're just going to start doing purposeful things. And we're going to start telling a story of life versus telling a story of death. And we're going to start expressing life at a better level. We're going to be that 80-year-old person that's in the gym working out, instead of that 80-year-old person that can't walk from here to their car in 10 minutes. We're going to be that younger person who gets ourselves organized, who puts ourselves on a path that's going to lead us into what I read on Dr. Hyman's page today. The heart attack that I had in my 50s started in my 20s. The Alzheimer's that I had in my 70s started in my 40s. Yeah, the chronic disease is a process that happens over time. And by getting our sleep, taking our vitamins, keeping our 6:3 ratio right, watching our blood sugar, doing those things, getting movement, staying social, those are all the things that we do that are purpose-driven life that keeps us moving towards health and wellness. And um, that is a blessing. That's a blessing right there. And it's right there in Scripture. Don't follow, lead. Lead with your purpose. I think that's all I got for you tonight. I hope that was helpful. If I can do anything for you, please send me a message. And otherwise, you guys have a great night. And we'll be back here tomorrow night at 6, and we'll talk about some health. Maybe we'll get into this a little deeper, or the vestibular system. All right, you guys have a great night.